So, people, this is the first video of me going through all the trades for 1 year using my strategy, and we're gonna look and see and test the strategy trade for trade to see if it's profitable at the end of each month, at the end of each week, at the end of each everything. Do you know what I'm saying? And see if we can stay profitable with the strat, prove it, and literally you lot will just be able to see. And if you want me to go in depth with the strat and everything, just let me know in the comments, and I may in future, instead of just showing you man the screenshots, go through it the actual when I'm on FX replay, how I'm taking these, and step by step how I'm picking out each trade, which I will explain, but it just, if you lot want to actually see me do the process instead of just the screenshots. So I'm started in January 2024. Like if I go to my FX replay, which is somewhere here, it's not there, trust me. Here, yeah, in January, let me just move that out of the way. At the bottom it says January 2024. Obviously this is the Friday, the last trade of the month. But yeah, so start of week one, the first trade that we got that was strat was on a Friday. So obviously now January be more time. Should we even be trading in January? I don't know. ICT leaves it, but I'm just doing it throughout the whole year and see how it goes. So this is the first trade. As we know, I use institutional candles. If you want to know what that is, just watch my previous videos. They're all there. That's how I trade. And then, so cool. Obviously, it's a bullish one. We've come down to midpoint. We've made a 5-minute one there. And here. And each trade, what I've done is I've put a standard take profit of a 1 to 4 risk reward. So if it's a win, it's 4%. If I risk 1%, that's how I've traded it. That's how I've done it. I used to do 1 to 3s, but for this I did 1 to 4s. Yeah. So that's the first trade there on the Friday, which will put us up 4% for the week. Yep, calm. So now the second week on this Tuesday, we have the same thing with buys again. And we see we've come down to 1 hour zone, and we just click on this, and we've touched midpoint, and we've made our first 5-minute setup there, institutional candle again. See, if we set a limit at midpoint, we would have gone straight to stop loss. But then we made another institutional candle after that inside the same 1 hour institutional, and we went to TP 1 to 4 there. So overall on this day we'd be up 3%, -1, and then 4%. So that's up 3% for the day. Then again we had another trade on Friday. This one was a sell. As you see, it's just the same thing but opposite. Literally same thing but opposite. We've come, had a 1 hour zone. We're on the 5-minute chart obviously, but it's a 1 hour zone. We've come on, made a 5-minute institutional limit at midpoint, and we've dropped down for a 1 to 4 right there. And then cool. Now this is the third week now on the Monday. Yep, on the Monday. So we've had our first trade. We've come down to a 1 hour institutional for the buy side now, and we've touched midpoint, made a 5-minute zone, and we've gone straight to stops in that one candle, literally straight to stops. And then Thursday, this is a bit of a controversial one, but I'm doing this because I know I put this trade there because I know I would have taken it. It's not off the institutional that came off the 1 hour zone. As you can see, the 1 hour zone institutional the midpoint was touched up there, and the institutional candle would have been this one when this low was broken there. As you can see, as we went down, I took this. This was more of a continuation trade, but as you can see, we had a 5-minute institutional there, and I took it, and we went down to stops. Cool. That is for that week. So we have this -1% here, this -1% here. So that's week 3 with -2%. Yeah. Now week 4, only got one trade on Friday for the week, as you just saw on the charts, and it was that loss. So minus another percent there. So yeah, so -2% this week, the third week, and then minus another 1% on week 4. Now I just want to show quickly for a wrap up. At this point in time, the market is in heavy consolidation. If you look at the hourly chart and we just zoom out of it, we're not really trending anywhere, especially for this first week. So coming into 2024 is a lot of accumulation. Look, literally kind of just sideways market. If we just take out these blocks and kind of just show, generally we're just in this price range right here. And then when we break out of it, kind of coming lower, we end up going into this kind of just ranging sideways price, breaking up and breaking down. The reason why, if you were to see when I was backtesting, it was literally going from sell to buy, sell to buy. All my 1 hour zones were being broken through. All the institutions were being broken through left, right, and center, and that's just a sign of consolidation. So this is really consolidatory month, and we still at the end of it ended up with, if we count it all up, at the end of it we count up. So we made 4% here on this first trade, -1, which is 3%. Add another 4, 7%. Add another 4, it brings us to 11%. Going into week 3, and then obviously these 2 losses taking us down to 9%, and then another loss taking us to 8%. So at the end of the month of January, we find ourselves up 8% for the month. So that's decent. That is decent for us. It's a green month. Not every week is a green week, and less, for instance, say if we were doing our 2 weeks payout, which we do with our fundeds, at the end of week 2, it would have been at 11%. So for a payout at the end of week 2, we would be 11%, and then no payout for the end of week 4, and we'd be -3%. So that's for this first month. Cool. So this should have been uploaded yesterday, even day before, whenever I filmed the first, going through the first month. What I've decided to do is actually compare 2 time frames, same strategy, but doing it on a step down time frame. So instead of doing 1 hour institutional to 5-minute entry, we're going to do 15-minute institutional to 1-minute entry, and we're going to do that for each month, and we're going to compare and see which one works better, and overall, whichever one works better, we're going to trade. So this is same for the same January 2024. Starting off, I'm trading it the same way. When a 15-minute zone gets broken through, I'll be trading the first one in the opposite direction, and that's how it's just going. Next video I will go through and give like examples and show you how I'm actually backtesting, but I'm just going off results right now. So this is the first one. The first week we had no trade, as you can see. So second week, this is on the Monday. See, we came to the 15-minute institutional. We had our first setup there, end up hitting stop loss, and the second one. And I'm gonna call this a break-even trade, because a rule that I have in place, because we're going for a standard 1 to 4. When we touch a 1 to 3, we're going to break even. When we touch a 1 to 3, we are going to break even, because, bro, why is the market coming back? At that point, we should not be coming back to entry at any point. So we're gonna call this one break even, and we're going to call this a loss of 1%. So we're going to do that. So for the Monday, we'd be down 1%. Cool. Now we have a trade on the Tuesday. As you can see, we're still in a sell. We had our 15-minute institutional, 1-minute entry, and we touched our 1 to 4. So that's a 4% for the Tuesday. 4% for the Tuesday. Cool. Now we come to Wednesday. We're getting quite a few trades actually. So obviously, we can see we had a sell zone. I mean, a buy zone at first. We came, had a 1-minute setup, hit stop loss. And obviously, because that buy zone has been broken through, looking for sells. So as you can see, the sell zone next, and we hit stop loss again. So those are the 2 trades, max 2 losses in a row, and actually max 2 trades in a day. Also, I'm actually, next video, I'm gonna write down all the rules as well that I'm trading by and I'm backtesting by. So for this Wednesday, we're down 2%. So minus 2% for this Wednesday. Cool. Now for the Friday, we can see we're selling, and we had a beautiful, basically wick entry, a nice 1 to 4, went straight to TP right there. So plus 4% for this Friday. Now the third week, we're coming on to the Monday, and we can see we had our buy zone broken through, so that's minus 1%, and then we also had our sell. We took what's it called? touched midpoint up here, we came down. So when we broke through, that would be our first institutional. But as you can see, we made another one after we broke this low. So then enter off that quick 1 to 4, lovely like that. So for this Monday, it'll be a plus 3% day. Cool. Thursday, I don't even need to click on it. You can see touch midpoint, 1 minute institutional, and then it looks like a longer trade, but we touched our 4% take profit. And then Friday on this week, we had our first one. I don't think this touched a 1 to 3. So we'll just call this minus 1%. We'll just call this trade, this first one, a loss, and then obviously call this nice 1 to 4. I think the stop loss was small, even like less than a pip. So I don't think it would even. I don't think my leverage on equity would even let me risk 1%. But anywho, it touched the 1 to 4. So purely for that, we'll just say we did 3%. We'll do 2.5 to 3% for this day, for this Friday. Now we'll come on to this next week on the Thursdays when we got our first trade. As we can see, straight 4%. I don't need to explain much. And then the Friday, we took a loss. Minus 1% for the Friday. Minus 1%. So turns out at the end, when we add it all up, so from this first week, so minus 1% on the Monday, maybe just a tad more of the break even, commissions, etc. Then plus 4%, that'll be 3%, minus 2, 1%, plus 4, 5%, plus 3, 8%, plus another 4, 12%, plus these 2.5 to 3, we'll give it 2.5, so 14.5%, plus this 4 again, 18.5%. And then we'll drop this down 17.5%. So we'll say 17.5% for the month. And then obviously slightly different to what I calculated previously. Obviously not that different. So for the first 2 weeks, obviously first week no trade. And then the second week we would find ourselves minus 1% at the 4, 3, 1%, then add this, so around 5% for the first week payout. So that's the same, around 5% for the first payout, payout every 2 weeks. And then the second 2 weeks, so from week 3, so that's 3%, plus 4%, 7%, plus 2.5, 9.5%, add another 4, 13.5%, and then here minus 1, so 12.5%. 12.5% for the second 2 weeks if we're going to get a second payout. So compared to the 1 hour strategy, which gave us 8% at the end of January, we got a whopping 17.5% on the 15-minute strategy. Whopping 17.5%. So for this first month, 15-minute strat has taken a W, and on to the next, innit? We'll go to February and we'll see if we carry on like this. But yeah, let me know what you men think.